We are Team 4. This is our presentation on our cardboard chair building. I'm Nick.
I'm Max. I'm Peter.
And I'm Noah.
So the goal of this project was basically to create a chair out of the corrugated cardboard that we were provided by our teachers. And that chair had to surpass or at least meet every criteria that was given to us. But some of those criteria include the capability of holding 200 pounds or more, and surviving Mr. Barrett's very scientific wiggle test. It's always the same. It needs to have a back support, it needs to look somewhat like a chair, and it needed to be relatively comfortable from a standpoint of ergonomics. Some of those things we had to research are given in this table for that comfortability point. Our original design, we all made our own sketches, and then those were all kind of cobbled together into one combined design on CAD. And it ended up looking like this with a cross section in the middle around where most of the weight from the seat would be put. And then there was very little support for the back and very little support for the rest of the chair. So there were a lot of changes made even during the prototyping.
So, as Nick said, our prototype process was like, when we started actually prototyping the chair, we realized that a lot of things that we put in the original design just weren't gonna work. For example, the X support structure design that was shown on the previous slide in the original design was almost impossible to make, given the cardboard that we had as well as the time. So we had to change it into a structure where we would put slit structures in the bottom in order to reinforce it. So after those changes, then when we were able to make it, it was able to support a weight of around 2 kilograms, which when scaled up, speaking of which the scale was 1 to 10, when scaled up, the chair would be able to support a weight of 200 pounds or more, which exceeded the requirements of the project.
So for our final design, we pretty much stuck pretty close to our prototype, where we had the 6 chair pieces going across, and then we had the 5 horizontal pieces going across them. One change that we did make to the horizontal pieces is that we made them larger, because during the prototyping process, we realized that the chair had a wiggle, so we wanted to make those go up farther in order to stop that. Then also during the prototyping process, we realized that the back didn't have very much support, so we added another support structure at the back of the chair, so then we had 2 in the back. And then we also decided to add a seat cover and a back cover, which we would just lay on and fold into the chair. And then for the slits, we just made them go halfway of the smaller of the pieces I was connecting, so it would go halfway up the back pieces and halfway up the chair pieces, and then halfway up the horizontal pieces, which was about 4 inches in total, so 2 inch slits going up, and we copied that for the chair pieces.
So during our final days of assembly, the chair miraculously broke, so we had to kind of restart and find some ways to add support. So what happened is all these pieces were bent to the right, so whenever you sit down, it just immediately collapsed to the right. So we had to add in slits at the bottom right here on each one, and then place a 10 by 13 piece of cardboard in to make sure these pieces don't bend, as well as we put a large piece of cardboard going through the whole chair all the way to the bottom to add more support from the bending. And then during the sit test, everything went to plan. We didn't have any structural damage. It was capable of supporting Mr. Barrett pretty easily. It sustained the wiggle test. There were some minor sways, nothing substantial. Our failures were mainly that the seat back wasn't high enough, and Mr. Barrett was resting his head on sharp edges of the cardboard, as well as resting the back of his legs on sharp edges, since we didn't cover the vertical sheets that were exposed.
And does anybody have any questions? pleasure.
How did you go about testing your prototype?
We gradually put weight on it. Essentially, we're just adding 100-gram weights to it until we just kind of stopped.
And my phone.
Until we basically ran out of Max's phone. Yeah, that's
Oh, and
How did you guys break your chair after you first built it?
No,
So-
would you like to answer?
So the chair basically held, it held a lot of weight. It exceeded like 300 pounds probably because it could fit me and Nick on it, as well as I think me and Max, we both sat on it at the same time. So I decided to jump on the chair, and it actually held my weight when I first jumped on it, but as I was jumping off, I pushed down and then it broke, and it all, the cardboard bended to the one side.
He was very confident in that design.
Any other questions?
Rowan.
Do you think your final chair, like after you did your shenanigans, do you think your final
Yes.
chair was better than your initial chair?
Yeah, because I think as well the other chair it swayed a little bit more, and I think this one swayed less, and it just has more support in general for just the seat.
It still could have been better if we had added those supports without it breaking to begin with, but that probably wouldn't have happened.
Owen.
Do you think you could have jumped off the final chair?
We'll find out after
We'll find out
class.
soon.